Well, hey everybody, my name is Kalle Slaap and we're in Switzerland at the moment. And here, Calina Shevlin, the artist in guilloché and enameling and making amazing stuff, and we'll show you so much more. Well, so nice to be here.
Thank you for coming.
I'm here on a 10-day course for guilloché on the straight engine, on the rose engine. We'll show you later on plenty more. We're in Brassus. And can you tell a bit more about this region, because it's Vallée du Joux, Valjoux. You probably all heard about the term Valjoux. And it's very rural, it's quite small,
Yep.
but all the huge brands are here.
Yep, this is the watchmaking, the heart of watchmaking. There's two valleys, but ours has big names like Audemars Piquet, jaeger-lecoultre, du Bois de Pras. We have Vachon-Constantin, Breguet of course is here.
How do you get started in guilloché first?
So guilloché, for those who don't know, is the love of my life. My husband knows he's not number one. I'm not number one in his life either, don't worry. I fell into it when I was doing my graduate studies at the University of North Texas under Harlan Butt for enameling. I had a class that I had to write a paper for, and the teacher said, you may not write about enameling because that's what you're here for. So I went, okay, I love Fabergé eggs. When I was a kid, I used to joke that I would marry, I can't even remember the name, of like a Rockefeller or something, so that I could have my own Fabergé egg. And after that, it was fortuitous. I had to write a paper, there were no sources. I went to SNAG, Society of North American Goldsmiths, that same year. And I saw a piece that looked like guilloché to me. Yeah. And so I asked the gentleman at the Bonnie Doon and Rio Grande booth, and he said that the gentleman who had made the plate on the hydraulic press actually had a rose engine. He gave me his name. I called him. We started talking many hours over many weeks, and he said, if you're ever in the area, lives in a tiny town of like 70 people, you should look me up. So I called a couple weeks later, said, I'm gonna be in the area specifically to see you. And he just let me use his machines, and he told me I was a natural. I really felt at peace, and it went from there. I contacted Breguet for information about the book that I was writing at the time. And this was like as a newbie. So the book was finished in 2014. I had only been doing a few years of guilloché, and I've learned so much more. But Breguet said, come on out, look at our archives. I got here, they said we would never show our archives to anybody. Thanks guys. But they offered me a job. So that was better. Then the book was on hold for a few years while I worked there, and then I picked it back up, published it in 2017, and I've been in love with it since. I've got this huge collection. No, I'm not a hoarder. I have one rose engine for now, 4 straight lines, 1 in progress. So I've been teaching my whole life various things, and it just seems like the thing to do. I got in contact with you around 2017 when I got my machines. I'm still eternally grateful that I was allowed to buy them. My first spark was in, I think, 2010, 2011. I was allowed to use a rose engine at the Breguet boutique in Geneva. And I was completely hooked. Hook, line, sinker, that's it. And years later, I was allowed to buy machines very kindly. And I think I contacted David Lindau, and he said, you have to contact Calina. And she wrote a book about it, the book about it. And I'll show you the book later on. Engine turning, and the straight engine and the rose engine is a century-old craft. Very old.
Probably in watchmaking, Breguet, the original, introduced it, I think, into watchmaking.
Yes, Louis Abraham Piquet was the first to use it in watchmaking in the late 1700s, so 1780s. But we think the first machines are Franco-Swiss because in La Chaux-de-Fonds, it's maybe a couple kilometers from France, came around about the same time, around 1750.
What is guilloché? Because that can be quite abstract. It is mechanical engraving. And you're cutting lines, but while you're using a machine, well, it is a machine, but it's all hand cranked, no electricity whatsoever. So it's a real,
authentic experience.
It is, yeah.
It is.
It's not just push a button and there it is. Every single line can go wrong.
Every single line for me is done, well, they're all done by hand on a rose engine or a straight line with the possibility of messing up royally. And it's what I try and also teach is that it's your eye that will tell you. So I do have depth stops and some modern things, but you'll see if it's not going right and you can fix it or you can keep going and then say that it's not right and then it's too late.
Yeah, and you have to start over again.
Yes, and I have started over on several projects because you have to. You can't just deliver something that's subpar.
And we were referring to Fabergé and their eggs, and on first glance, probably guilloché isn't visible because it's the layer underneath the enamel. And when you're really up close and when you're playing with the light, that's a real sparkle and a luxurious feeling of the Fabergé eggs. But can you show us a rose engine, please?
Sure. All right, this is my baby. She is from 1880. She is one of 3 known ones in the world marked LANG. This baby has traveled from Switzerland to England to the United States, and now she's home.
Yeah.
She's in pretty good condition for being 250-ish years old almost. This is my only rose at this point in time.
Yeah. Maybe it's nice to show that it is a bit like a lathe because there's a central axle, hand cranked, as you can see. But here you see the different rosettes with other patterns. And this lathe is under a spring, so it can move like that. And the cutter is stationary. So if your dial is moving like this and your cutter is stationary, you can get a wave with that one, all different. And you get with this one, which is an amazing machine, you get a pumping action as well. So you can go in and out and do the wave. Sounds simple, but with every twist and turn and rosette, you get a complete different result. And again, if you play with the lights, it's just so beautiful. And here there's the guilloché underneath the enamel.
This is a straight line.
Yeah.
And it's the Swiss flag with our mountain here under it.
And underneath the red is guilloché.
Underneath the whole thing, but I've put some opaque, which is non-transparent color for the cross, and then made a mountain.
This is the straight line engine, the Lienhard.
This one I got for a bag of hamburgers in 2014. So this is a Lienhard Chaux-de-Fonds 1902. They're actually arranged by age.
With the rose engine, there's a circular motion, and here the straight engine, it just goes up and down. But
we can make straight lines. We can make all sorts of lines based on pattern bars.
Again, there's a spring action, so this whole block can move like this. So if you go up and down and the sideway action, you get a wave. Here are the pattern bars. So they sit here on the side, and there is the rubber, probably visible. So with the spring, it is pushed that way, so it goes up and down, but with the pattern bar. and you can change pattern bars, whatever you like. So again, this is so versatile. And can I change that? If you have a look here, you see that can change. So then you can make the radials. It's so versatile. It's beautiful.
This is an English-made Plant and Son, 1927.
Yeah.
This is probably my favorite. No, I don't have a favorite. I love them all equally. I use this the most because I prefer it. It's compact. Like we see, the Leonhard is huge.
Yeah.
This is compact, and then the American ones are small, way smaller, because they were used in a jewelry studio, so they're less precise. So these three are dial makers and pen machines, and these two are for jewelry.
Yeah, and you notice the stability with the weight of the Leonhard against the plant?
Mm-hmm. I would say they're pretty equal. This one is definitely heavier because it's got some big, huge wheels on the back, and it's just more solid. But this one, it's more easily accessible. I don't have to reach far. Everything is like right here.
Vintage dog over there.
Good weight, absorbing the vibration.
Yeah. And I think this is just lovely, lovely, compact, as you said. But I say, well, when it's going up and down with the rubber against the pattern bars, with this one, it's not touching, right?
It is.
Oh, can you move it? So I can change it?
You can change it. You don't need to move on.
Oh, okay. Here you can change patterns so easily. So not just a pattern bar and up and down motion, but then you can switch pattern bars in between lines. Of the first few days I was working on this one, and it is just lovely. It took me a while to get a proper result because I was used to that huge stable one, but this is just lovely.
These are just
if you're interested, this is the Bible. Calina Shevlin Guilloche, and I put an ISBN number in the underneath in the description.
And I'm working on a second edition with more photos, and I've learned so much since this has been published. And then a French edition. So working on getting the rights to it, and then it's out.
Yeah. Here, even more jewelry workshop. And today we had a bit of fun with here all the different components, the holders. A few of them are mine, and we were comparing notes on what best to use. I'm here on a 10-day course, and the end of the first day I found out the 80% of all the mistakes I made, because I got a nice result but never got a spectacular result, and I'm convinced after this course we can.
Yes, we can.
That's Guilloché, engine turning, but now you're master enameler.
Yes, I've done enameling since 2003, so I finally passed the master level.
Yeah?
I've done it longer than Guilloché, but for me, it's preserving a heritage.
Mm-hmm.
So enamel Guilloché, some people say Guilloché enameling. They're two separate things, but for me, they've always gone hand in hand. I'm not Fabergé.
Even from the old days.
Yeah, Fabergé was one of the few who did Guilloché with enamel, except some of the Norwegian artists, the Andersons, also did, but much smaller scale.
If I'm blunt, enamel is just molten glass on a piece of metal. But how to do it? How to combine opaque, transparent, all the different colors. They all behave differently. Mm-hmm. We've been playing with colors, and the way you can see the guilloche underneath.
I like to do guilloche under my color samples so that I know how it looks, because theoretically if you do one layer it's one equal color flat, not flat, but with the guilloche, it goes down further into the channels. So you have the opportunity for it to be a little bit darker and then lighter for the rest of it, which I really like.
And with the extra information about enameling, gave me so much more in-depth information about restoring dials. And some of the dials you simply cannot restore the traditional way. So then you have to use more modern techniques. Guilloché underneath, the cloisonné enamel.
So cloisonné means in French making cloisons, which are just cells. And then we have these cells and we fill them up with enamel. And so it kind of keeps the different colors separate from touching, even though you can mix the same. So this is a piece that's just the cloisons. It's not got enamel in it yet.
Yeah.
Doing some Art Deco just
the
to test.
form boxes.
Yeah, just trying to do some Art Deco testing of colors. Mostly in guilloche, it's cloisonné enamel or just plain enamel with nothing else. I'm experimenting with some Piquet, which means
see-through.
Yeah, it's see-through. It's just stained glass window.
Maybe
Oh yeah,
it's probably visible like that.
Yeah.
And it's glass, so the colors will never fade.
No. UV resistant.
UV resistant, and the patterns underneath, you can play with how sparkly you want to have it. The vibrant colors that will always stay like that. It's just the creativity of that. And even if the guilloche is well done, and then the enamel with the opaque, translucent, all the different... Can I show them that?
Let's go into the cave. Let's go into the enamel cave.
Here.
It's not to be missed.
For your creativity.
I have 720 different colors.
And the 720 colors can be combined. There are really vintage colors here as well. And the creativity and what you can do to it is just endless. 2 furnaces. Of course, because of training, everybody can use them. And just the time, the temperature, how you put it in, every single second things can go wrong.
Always a chance for errors.
And it's been such an eye-opener, and just love the time over here.
You've been doing really well. You've just absorbed all the information, and I realize I'm just like throwing out so much, but I want people to succeed.
Yeah. And there aren't too many places where you can learn guilloche on the vintage machines and with somebody who, well, dedicated her life to the craft. I really do hope you enjoyed the introduction into guilloche enameling. Calina Shevlin, the master in all this and all the the top quality brands she worked for already, and now she's available for micro brands and independents to really take the next step into a luxury watch brand. All of you, thank you so much for your attention, and see you soon. See ya. Bye-bye.